So here we are, it's April 2026. Buyers and sellers have adopted a wait-and-see approach to the housing market. We have a war in Iran, we have unemployment increasing, we have interest rates that are teetering, we don't know which way they're going to go, and we still have continued tariffs that may or may not be affecting our economy. Guys, what are we thinking about the real estate market heading into spring?
Well, it's interesting. It's busy. Like there are a lot of people that want to do something. And so I think the noise is so deafening that people have almost tuned it out. And that's probably a good thing because we have no control over any of it. And we are looking at in some areas of our market where we are seeing, hey, we've got tons of inventory coming by, and in other areas of the market we have very little inventory, and we put something on the market and we have terrific response and people clamoring to get it. So it's just real estate. That's it in a nutshell. We have no control. We just are here to help people and guide them through this process regardless of the market. And some days are easier than others, and we're in some tough ones, but people still want to buy and sell.
Yeah, and further to that, I think that we're seeing just a lot of organic moves. So what we're really seeing is families that need more space, so they're taking this opportunity to move up. We're seeing people that want to downsize. They don't want their lifestyle of maintaining their yards and all that jazz anymore. So really who we're working with right now are organic moves. We're not really working with that investor, that developer. I don't really see developers buying very much, but organic moves the market's still moving, and I don't think our phones have ever been so busy as this beginning of April. This first week my phone's been on fire.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's definitely we're definitely getting groups through all of our properties. We're showing more. We've been busy. We've been showing our own buyers' properties. So we're getting out there. That's a true statement. Organic moves for sure. When we're looking at some of the stats, we have 2,032 sales in the month of March. Compared to March 2025, it's a 3% decrease. And our 10-year average, we're 32% below our 10-year average. So when we're looking at sales right now in our buyer's market, do we think this is a buyer's market? Are we teetering on a seller's market? Is it something in between? And how should that mentality kind of influence decisions in today's market?
Well, definitely, Adam, it depends on what you're discussing as to whether it's a buyer or a seller's market. So if you're talking about a 2-bedroom condo right now, probably a buyer's market. If you're talking about something quite unique, or even something that just doesn't have a lot of inventory, it's still a seller's market. You were involved in a multiple offer last week. They're still happening. So there is a real gap in inventory, what's available. And I go back to what I say every time, just because things are for sale, just because we have 1,000 listings in one category, it doesn't mean that they're all wonderful and sellable. Some of them are horrible and overpriced, and they're never going to sell. So they're just clogging up the system, and that problem still exists. So I would say I guess we're somewhere in between, if you want a definitive answer.
Yeah, it depends on what you're buying. We can put it that way. It depends on what you're buying.
100%.
When we're talking about interest rates being pushed up by global events, how much should buyers factor mortgage rate uncertainty into their decision to refinance, get in the market, and kind of continue on?
Well, I mean, I think that if a buyer has locked in their fixed rate mortgage, they've got, the next few months to probably spend it. And of course, we know that the bond market is heavily tied to this kind of idea of oil pricing. And then that is all tied to the fixed mortgage rate. So we probably are looking at mortgage rates rising as we move into the latter part of 2026. So, my advice is if you have that fixed mortgage rate locked in, go spend it. Opportunity is there. This is your moment. Make it happen, because it may not look quite as favorable as we walk into that latter part of the year.
Correct. Yeah.
Perfect. When we're looking at new listings, there were 5,800 new listings in the month of March. This is 10% decrease from this time last year. So it seems to show that sellers are less engaged in the market. When we look at month over month, though, there's a 21% increase in new listings coming on the market. When we're looking at total number of properties currently listed for sale, there's 14,774. It's a 1% increase compared to last year. It's also 38% above the 10-year average. When we're looking at the peak of listings, though, that was June 2025, where there was 17,900. So we've definitely come off the peak. With inventory sitting well above the 10-year average, does this create real negotiating power for buyers? Like, is this a lot of inventory? I know we just said, yes, the condo market has a lot of inventory, not if it's all good inventory. So tell me how this kind of influences buyer negotiating power.
Well, remember, we have been in an under-inventoried market for a decade. So we are only reaching what I think are normal numbers. So no, I mean, the stats tell us, oh my gosh, look, we're above the 10-year average. That's because we were in such a drought previously. This is more normal. But I think what is interesting is you could see last June how all those sellers said, wow, you know what? It's my turn. I am going to sell. Oh, I'm not going to get those big time prices? Trickle, trickle, trickle. And then we see this hesitation for sellers in 2026. They're saying, oh, you mean I'm not getting what my neighbor got a year ago or 2 years ago for a price? No, you're not. Okay, well, then we see this hesitation. So this makes sense to me. Like, it's normal, I think, month over month for us to have a bit more inventory come on as people think they're going to kind of capture this spring market. But it's the seller's hesitation saying, do I really need to sell now? If the news is telling me it's the buyer's market and the world is telling me, oh my gosh, like shelter in place. Vancouver's an amazing city. It's a safe city. I think that like long term, this is still an amazing place to purchase real estate. You know, when you look at where else in the world you want to live, where do you want to live? Look at this beautiful spring day we're enjoying today. And we're living in pretty calm times. Like, you know, I don't know. I think the long-term forecast is this is still an amazing place to raise a family, live your life, find a good job, and all that stuff. So I think long-term, you know, sellers are going to sell and buyers are going to buy, but there is hesitation right now.
So, and I would just like to add that, well, first off, this is the first 4 days in a row that we've had that didn't rain. So I'm not quite as enthusiastic as Jen about our climate, but I would say that what I'm seeing in the last few days is a tremendous amount of inventory coming up. So March might not have reflected what's really going to happen this month. Yesterday, I looked at the number of listings that were popping up, and you know, on any given day in a geographical area like where we are in Richmond, there would be 40, 50 new listings over a 2-day period. We were well over 100 yesterday.
Yeah.
And that will continue because I do believe, I believe this quite strongly, that there are a whole lot of sellers that want to move and they've been waiting and they've been hesitating, as Jen says, because the prices have adjusted. And now that their mentality has adjusted around that, they're starting to come to terms with what can I do instead, the balance of where am I going, the balance of recognizing that, okay, my house is only worth this, but now I can buy that. And it's also adjusted and I can move and I should because it's the right thing to do. So I do think we're in for more inventory, not less. I think we're in for, but again, it doesn't mean it's buyable. It doesn't mean people want to buy it.
Right.
That's an interesting comment because now I have a juxtaposition here. So for sellers, if prices are down and year over year, they're relatively stable month over month, there's negotiating room. Generally, there's negotiating room. We think more inventory is coming. Should sellers list now? wait for stronger conditions. We don't know when those are coming. What's your opinion?
Remember what I always say? Move when it is right for you, and it will all work out. Don't ever be influenced by the market conditions, because they're always going to be fluctuating. And it really is going to come down to what's going to serve you. Are you going to stay in a house you don't want to stay in because you're not getting as much money, even though when you go to buy, because you get more money, you're going to pay more? It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. It's emotional. It's just not logical, right? And I understand. We've all been through this. We all understand the process well. The reality is, do what is right for you when it's right, and don't let other influences turn off that deafening noise. It isn't worth listening to. We can do nothing about it.
Yeah.
Perfect. When we're looking at sales to active listing ratio for March, it was in general 14.2%. And by property type, it's 11% for detached homes, 17% for attached homes, and then 15.7% for apartments. When we're looking at the days on market there and sales to active listing ratio, are homes actually sitting longer right now? And what does that mean for pricing strategy?
Yeah, I think they are staying on the market a little longer. I think that, buyers are enjoying the ability to come back to a property one or two times instead of just, 15 minutes and, here's all my millions of dollars to purchase this home. They're being able to be quite thoughtful about it and to consider their options. So I do think it's taking a little longer. However, I think when priced sharply, and we're seeing this in condos, we're seeing this in homes, the right price can drive that multiple offer and can drive something to occur very quickly, like within 1 week. But, if you're going to kind of try a price, we often have a seller that will say to us, I'd like to try this price. And, we're really encouraging them, please listen to us. Let's look at all of the data. Let's point to what has sold. Let's point to what we're competing against and get your face out there in the best light. And that's what's going to bring this kind of, energy around your property. This trying the price can sometimes be a really negative thing to do to your property. You can stale date it, you can stigmatize it, people will be like, oh, that old one, someone else didn't snap it up, whatever, I'm just going to kind of, it's been on the market.
There's also the possibility that the market moves again while you're at that price, and now you have
try price.
Right. And now you have more to deal with. And so it is a challenging thing to price a property, especially in a market moving either up or down.
Yes.
Because we have to build in some kind of, insurance that we're not going to, in some way be detrimental in our pricing strategy. But I would tell you that right now we can see the market clearly. And so what we're telling people, because we're committed to this, is we're telling people exactly what we believe and what we can substantiate with fact, right? So we hope that people listen. Yes.
So guys, if someone is on the fence right now, what are the key signals they should watch for over the next 3 to 6 months before making that move?
If you are a seller, you're going to watch for not having a lot to compete against in your particular building, in your particular complex. You're going to speak with a realtor who's going to kind of advise you on the strategy necessary to stand out in this market. If you're a seller, it's time to spring clean and get that property looking spick and span. Think about curb appeal, get your garden in check. Really, you are going to have to wow the buyer. So, get it going. And then if you're a buyer, you're going to look for that seller who's pricing right, who's taken care of their property, and you're going to move on your opportunity for using your fixed rate mortgage that you've already locked in. Right. And then, I think that we're just going to look for those opportunities to advise our clients when it is right for them. So just like Patti always says, you're going to buy and sell when it's right for you. And we will help each individual person try to assess this. But I think sitting on the sidelines and watching the news is the worst thing you can do. The best thing you can do is talk to a professional who's boots on the ground and working in the market every single day, living it and breathing it like we do on our team. You got to come in for a coffee. You got to like pick up the phone and have the talk, and let's look at the numbers, your individual numbers. You know, what did you buy it for? What really do you want to do? Like, let's talk about people's hopes and dreams and kind of help them get there. But I think in the next 3 to 6 months, the word is still opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity for people.
Yeah, I agree.
Wonderful. That's sound advice. If anybody needs further advice, wants to discuss their particular situation, reach out to the team. Like Jen said, we're always available. We have a great coffee shop across the street. We'd love to go for a coffee and have a quick chat.
Awesome.
Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.